Hey everybody, welcome to Pyramid Knits. We're starting off with my dog barking in the background, so that's a good sign. This is episode 5 of my knitting and natural dyeing podcast. I am a knitter and a natural dyer. My name is Liz, and I am coming to you from the southwestern United States, just outside of Taos, New Mexico, which is up in northern New Mexico, pretty close to the Colorado border. Up in the high desert in the mountains. Yeah, so high desert in the mountains in December means that it's snowing outside. And it has been vaguely snowing for the last few days and quite cold. So I'm very happy to be a knitter and to have so many wonderful woolly things to wear and keep me warm. I've been noticing going out with friends a lot lately. That they keep telling me that they're cold or they need to go inside or warm up or whatever. And I'm like, wait, what are you talking about? Like, you're cold. I'm fine. It's like, well, yeah, I'm fine. I've got a wool sweater on and like a wool cowl on and wool mittens on and a wool hat on. It's like, I'm totally comfortable. So yeah, the wonders of wool fiber. Yeah, so I kind of thought today, since it's the end of the year, that I would go over everything that I have finished in 2019. Yeah, I have also been doing the Crimson Stitchery podcast, Crimson Whip-Along, which is a challenge to try and complete 50% of your current works in progress before January 2nd. So that counts if you actually finish a project. If you frog a project, it counts because that means it is no longer a work in progress. I've done that with a couple of things, which is good because they were just languishing and, you just know you're never going to finish something sometimes. And it's good to just accept it, reclaim the yarn, and move on. So yeah, I'll kind of go over everything that I've done for that because it'll be the stuff that I finished and the stuff that I still currently have works in progress, but it looks like I will make the 50% mark. I have a couple small projects to finish up that are Christmas presents. I realize this is the Sunday after Christmas currently, and I still have 2 Christmas whips on the needles, which were my only Christmas whips as well. Yeah, I'm not good at finishing things on a deadline, at least knitting wise. In regular life and like academic life, I always hit my deadline. Knitting, never. Anyway, so let's go ahead and get started. I'll just go through my current whips right now, and then we'll get into the stuff that I finished. So, current whips. Let me look at my list because I'll forget something. So, first whip is one of the Christmas presents. It's a hat. This is based on the pattern The Conversationalist by the Plucky Knitter. It's just a color block hat with a pom-pom on top. I went up a couple needle sizes because I'm lazy. That's the reason why. I cast this on impulsively like in the summer, and I wanted to see how quickly I could knit a hat. Which, not very quickly, is the answer to that question. But yeah, I kind of impulsively cast it on and went up a couple needle sizes and reduced the stitch count a little bit just to make up for that. And I just wanted to see, how quickly I could get through the stockinette, if I could do it in a day or two. And I did knit all of this in like a day or two. And then I got bored and it was the summer and I just put it away. So it is knit out of my naturally dyed yarn. This bottom section, the blue, is dyed with Saxon Blue. Very pretty. It's got a nice tonality to it. And this top section, I believe, is dyed with ragwort or ragweed, either way. I dyed this several years ago whenever some ragwort popped up in my yard. So that was handy. Got to dye a little bit of yarn out of that. So I decided just to cast on a hat with my naturally dyed yarn just to do it. And I didn't have a purpose for it or really anything. But I've decided now that it's Christmas time that this is going to be a Christmas present for my boss. So it's a nice loose fit. I mean, I can start the decreases on the crown right now. That's the point that I'm at, which is probably why I put it away. And then just make a pom-pom, and that'll be done. And I haven't seen my boss since Christmas, but she is taking me out for a kind of like thank you end of year brunch on Tuesday. So I will have it done by Tuesday and give it to her then. That's whip number 1. Whip number 2, my other Christmas knit that is not finished, is also a hat. Another hat. There we go. This is the classic ribbed hat by Purl Soho. It's free pattern. 1x1 rib all the way, crown at the top, done. It's meant to be able to wear with a folded brim. So I am to the point now where I can do decreases according to the pattern. I have knit enough, but looking at it with the brim rolled up, I think I might go a little bit further. Well, it'll fit kind of, yeah, I might do another inch and then start the decreases just to make sure that you can fold the brim up nice and tall and be sure to cover your ears twice, you know. So I'm knitting this for my dad. It is, it is knit out of Berroco Vintage DK, which is a 50-50 wool acrylic blend, which, you know, I'm not a huge fan of acrylic, but I really, really like this yarn, because it feels like wool, it looks like wool, it acts like wool. It comes in these really nice heathered colors. It's super affordable, and it's great for gifts because you could wash it because it's wool acrylic blend. So you can throw it in the washing machine. Great for gifts. But you still have the wool content to keep it nice and warm. Yeah. So yeah, my dad has lived in Texas his entire life until last year when he moved out here to New Mexico. So this is really his first experience with a proper winter, since he was like in his 20s and was in the military and got, you know, he like lived in Korea or South Korea for a year. And whenever he talks about it, he's like, oh, I hated it. It was so cold all the time. It was just cold and snowy. So yeah, now he's in a cold and snowy place again, so he needs more wool. So that's whip number 2. And both of these are going to get done in the next couple of days. So these are the projects that are going to put me over my 50% works in progress finished mark for the Crimson Whip Long. Yeah, so I have to finish both of these and then I am good. So that's to the next one. I showed this one to you guys last time too. It is the Litmus Cowl by Amy Florence of the Stranded podcast. And last time I think I was like here. Is that right? Yeah, I was like about here. So I've knit like 2 stripes in the last few weeks, which I just have had so many other projects to work on and so many other things going on. I just haven't had the time to sit down and just do stockinette forever. So yeah. Yarn I am using for the color. It's 100th Sheep out of Colorado. It's their Color Concepts gradient set. I can't recall if it had a colorway name to it, or if it was just a number, but it's their nice blue gradient set. And it's a wool silk blend. And then for the neutral white, I am using Fibre Co Acadia, which is a wool silk alpaca blend. So this is going to be very, very luscious. I'm super excited. The gradient set goes all the way from the dark to the lightest is this one. And then I'm starting to go back out, lightest out to darkest. So these two are the same color. So this is starting the second gradient set. And then I'll have 4 in total. So it'll go back to back to back. And then it'll join in the round with a Kitchener stitch and it'll be a big cozy thing to wear around my neck, and I'm super, super excited. So yeah, this is like my therapeutic knitting right now. I often don't think to pick it up because it's an accessory and it's just stuck in it in the round, you know? But like, I came home the other day, it was the day after Christmas, and I hosted Christmas at my house. So I had been just going nonstop for at least 48 hours. Just like all day Christmas Eve, baking and cleaning and all the Christmas cooking and like prepping and hosting and like all the things. So yeah, the day after Christmas, I got home and I just wanted something simple and easy. And I picked this up and I knit one of my stripes, and it was so nice and calming. And I just loved it. And I was like, why have I not been knitting on this? Because this is such good therapy, for real. If you need a therapeutic knit, I highly recommend the Litmus Cowl. So they're making a little bit of progress on that one. And next, I did show you guys this one last week as well. I've made a little bit of progress. This is Widow's Kiss by Thea Coleman. It is a lovely cabled pullover. It's got this really cool deep cable pattern to it that I suspect is supposed to be reminiscent of a spider. Hence the Widow's Kiss, I would assume. We do have black widows out here, so, you know, I'm making friends with my spider neighbors, I guess. Yeah, so I have both sleeves done. And now I have the body cast on. I've got a good little section here of the cable going. It's kind of a challenging pattern. I'm surprised. Last week I talked about how it was so nice and easy, and like you have these big sections in it that you're just doing 2x2 rib in between the cable sections. So you have like a lot of rest rows in between the sort of cable bits. But now that I'm getting into the full cable section, I'm having to pay quite a bit of attention to it because without like giving away the whole pattern, but there's some rows where you're doing a 4-stitch cable. There's some rows where you're doing a 5-stitch cable, and it's different which stitches you're knitting and which stitches you're purling depending which row you're on. So I am having to pay quite a bit of attention and double check myself quite a lot. I think once I get through a full cable repeat and start the second repeat of the pattern, it's going to be a lot easier because I'm going to be able to see where the cables are going. I'm going to be more into the rhythm of it. But yeah, getting started, this one does require a bit of mental awareness. I am knitting it out of Elsa wool, Woolen Spun, Cormo, Sport Weight. I bought this at Taos Wool Fest, not this year, but the year before, and it has just been waiting for the perfect pattern to present itself. Yeah, so I'm super excited about this. I'm really enjoying working with the yarn. It's so nice and soft and light and has a great texture to it without being like super thick and thin. But I think it's going to be really nice with the cables. I'm hoping that I can finish this in the next month or so, because I keep finding myself in the mornings thinking, oh, I wish I could just throw on like an everyday wear cable sweater, but I don't have one. I really enjoy knitting cables, but I've realized like I take that back. I do have a couple cabled cardigans. I have 3 cabled cardigans actually, but I don't have any cabled pullovers that are just like easy, you know, throw on over a tank top with some jeans. Like that's what I want, and that's what this is going to be. So yeah, hoping I can finish this relatively soon. Now that I've gotten some other big projects finished, which I'll show you in a little bit, I can put some more time and effort into that one. So I'm just going to keep moving along because I got a lot to get through. I feel like I'm only 15 minutes in and I'm still talking about whips. And it's like, well, I'm doing pretty good on time. But then I'm looking at my list of all of the finished things that I've done in 2019. And I really need to pick up the pace a bit. So, only other work in progress is socks. And I showed these to you last time as well. They are my standard sock recipe using Zen Garden Superfine sock yarn in the colorway Gia. Get the cables out, or the needles out of the way. And I really like picking just a pretty yarn. There you go. And doing a stockinette sock and just letting the yarn do all the work. I'm quite liking this yarn. It feels really, really soft. And it's got a really high twist. So it's feeling pretty squishy and springy too, which is nice. And yeah, I think last time I had just finished the heel, so I have knit like, oh my gosh, like an inch or something. There we go. Like an inch since last week or 3 weeks ago. Yeah, my thing with socks, I always knit them size 1, US size 1 needle, toe up, 64 stitches around, short row heel. And I carry them around in my purse in this little project bag that I made. And I am not a good sewer. That is a skill that I definitely want to improve. This is about the extent of my sewing skills. It's just a little bag. But I do have a cute lining fabric in there. And I just did a little twine tie. That's it. But socks are usually my sort of travel project. I always throw my sock project in my purse. So I have it with me when I'm out in case, you know, I have to wait 5 minutes or 15 minutes somewhere. Then I have a sock with me and I can just pull it out and knit on it, which is why I don't often make a lot of progress on my socks, because I don't sit around my house working on socks. I work on socks when I'm out and about. So, you know, if life is going very efficiently and I, you know, show up to all my appointments on time and I don't have any, you know, reason to wait around for, you know, whatever, then I don't get anything done on my sock. I usually get the most done on my sock whenever I have to get my oil changed. So if I don't think I have to get it changed anytime soon, but next time I get my oil changed, I'll make some progress on my socks. That's kind of how that goes. So that is all of my works in progress that are still active. So now I'm going to go through everything that I finished in 2019. What have I finished that was in the Crimson Whip Along? That would be this one, which you guys saw last week. That was still a whip, but now it is finished. It's my Whitehorse sweater by Caitlin Hunter, also known as Boyland Knitworks. Very popular pattern. I'm sure you've seen it around. Nice, really deep lace yoke with bobbles. I kind of love it. It is knit out of Elizabeth Lavold Silky Wool in the colorway Aubergine. And I really, really like how this pattern turned out in this yarn. Because the yarn itself has quite a bit of texture and kind of a nice little color variation. I think it's between the silk and the wool within the yarn. The silk takes up the dye a little bit differently than the wool does. So it has kind of like these lighter flecks of the purple and some darker flecks of the purple. And I just feel like with this really intense lace work that it just kind of softens it up, I guess. And just makes it all there. That's the color. Hey. Maybe I'll use that for my thumbnail. Yeah. So super happy with this one. The only thing I'm not a big fan of is how wide the neckline is. It's quite wide. Like this sweater is already quite a wide neckline. And this, you can see, is like way more dramatic than that. Because in the pattern, you cast on at the neckline and just knit straight down. I don't even think you change needle size or anything. So the neckline ribbing really doesn't like pull in at all. It's all the same piece of fabric. Which has really been fine so far because I've been wearing, you know, a collared shirt or, you know, a long sleeve shirt underneath it or something. So it stays on my shoulders because it's sitting on another piece of fabric. But it is quite wide and fluffy. But it was really fun to knit. I enjoyed it a lot. I kind of feel like this was more of a process knit than a product knit. Like, I did want to have it, but more I just wanted to knit the pattern, you know? And it's winter outside right now, and it's very cold and snowy. And this is pretty lightweight. I will get a lot more use of this in the springtime, I'm sure. And in the fall, it's more of a transitional piece with all the lace work, and it's a bit cropped, and it's only got half sleeves, just half sleeves. Whenever I wear it, yeah, it goes down like to my elbow. It's kind of like that. So yeah, I will get much more use of this whenever it's a little bit warmer outside. But very happy about that one. And another sweater that I finished, that I'm sure I showed you guys last time. I don't remember showing it to you, but I'm sure I did. It's the Caradon Hills jumper. It's a pattern from Blacker Yarns. Uh-oh, and see, it's getting all creased. This is still in the process of blocking. It's still quite damp. It's been on the blocking mat for the last 2 days, but it has also been not sunny and quite dim and cold. So it hasn't dried out yet, all these big cables. And then I just had it folded up on the side of the couch here, and now it's getting a little wrinkly. So I'm going to have to lay this out flat again after this is over. Here you can see the back. And then the front with a lower neckline. Yeah. So I knit this one as a sample for Vortex Yarns, which is my local yarn shop here in Taos. And I also work there part-time, very part-time. Occasionally I work there. So this has been taking me a while to knit because I try to knit it whenever I'm working there, but I don't work there that often. You know, it's usually like 2 or 3 days a month. So I finally buckled down and finished this in the last couple of weeks. And I am super, super happy with it. Oh my gosh. I just keep looking at it on the blocking mat and I'm like, it's so pretty. I love the cables. And the yarn is really nice too. It is not Blacker Yarns, despite the pattern being from Blacker Yarns. This version is knitted in something DK Tweed. I can't remember the exact name, so I will put it down here. DK Tweed, which we carry in the shop. And I really quite enjoyed the yarn. It's a superwash DK. It's, you know, commercial wool, but it's got a great price point. It's not expensive. It gets good yardage. Yeah, and it's superwash. But it doesn't feel like superwash. Like, it feels like wool whenever you work with it. But I can tell, like, it's not scratchy at all because it is a superwash. So you could wear this on the skin and I don't think it would bother you at all. And I really kind of want to make a version for myself now. This one is in a size medium. I would need at least a large. Yeah. So I'm going to think about that. Maybe picking up some yarn the next time I'm at the yarn shop. Since I've already knit this once, I know my gauge, so I wouldn't have to do a swatch or anything. I could just cast on my size and go. But I think a version in a green tweed for this, for me, would be lovely. So that might be in my future. So those are 2 sweaters that I have finished in the last 3 weeks. That's pretty exciting. Let's see. I have cat hair on my tongue, excuse me. There's animals in this house. So next up that I have finished since the last time I recorded, which you guys saw this one as well, this is the Woolly Winter Walking Wardrobe #1 from Kate Davies. She has it listed as like WWWW #1. It's one of her first patterns, but I really, really love it. I'm so happy with how it turned out. It's got a lining to it, which I did in Knit Picks Capretta, which is like a cashmere blend. So it's nice and soft on the inside. And then the outside is done in Knit Picks Palette, which was just leftover scraps I had from other projects. And it's got this nice I-cord edging on the top and the bottom. There we go. Yeah. So I've been wearing this quite a bit. It's kind of hard with my ponytail down there. I have to put my ponytail on top if I'm going to wear it with my hair pulled back. But it fits nice and snug. It covers my ears just right. And I've been wearing it a lot whenever I take my dog out for a walk, especially whenever the sun's out, so I can keep my ears nice and toasty, but I don't overheat. So this is one that I have been wanting for a very long time. And it was one of those cursed projects that like it should have been so simple and easy and quick. But for some reason, I kept messing it up. I would cast on too many stitches. I would twist the join. I just like did everything, everything wrong, and had to start this project over like, I don't know, 5 or 6 times. It was dumb. And then it went in the naughty bin for like 2 years. Oh God, for 2 years. And I finally finished it. So very happy that I followed through on that and finally finished it. Okay. And one more finished object from the Crimson Whiplong, which is somewhere in my piles of wool that are surrounding me. Oh my God. Here we go. Socks. Again, I am nothing if not predictable with my socks. Knit on a size US 1, toe up, 64 stitches around, short row heel. I decided to do a 2x2 cuff for the top, and I just did Jenny's surprisingly stretchy bind off for the top edging. Boop, boop. Excuse me, I'm getting sniffly. So I knit this out of Woolen Boon sock, and they are dyers out of Austin, Texas. There we go. There's some good sunlight there. The colorway is Mint Julep, and I just love it. There's a green tonal with these little rusty flecks in it. And every once in a while, I would get like a bright yellow stitch or a bright blue stitch, which was just way too much fun. Here we go. There's a couple little yellows there. Oh, there's a blue one. And there's just like a little half a stitch of like bright blue that kind of mixes in with the darker colors. I don't see any other blue spots on this one. Yeah, it just kind of like a little bit of blue pops in. Oh, I don't know if you can see it. The different little flecks of color in there. And the cat hair, yeah. Yeah, so this is the first time I've done a sock with an indie dyed yarn. I realized I've always done commercial yarns for socks. And I really, really enjoyed working with it. It's super, super soft. It's a really, really soft yarn. I can't remember the base, but judging by how soft it is, and judging by the fact that I've worn these for a couple of months, and the heel is already getting this pilly, I think it might be an MCN base, which is fine. Like, it's luxurious. It feels great on my feet, but the cashmere does tend to wear pretty quickly. Yeah, but I'm very happy with these. And those are all of the things that I have finished for the Crimson Whip-Along, which is 2 sweaters, a pair of socks, and a headband. And I'm planning to finish 2 more hats before that is over. And it also counts whenever you frog things, because that means that they are no longer a work in progress. And I did that for a couple of projects, unfortunately. One of them I showed you last week, or last time, 3 weeks ago, I think. That's not it. It's around here somewhere. Here it is. So I had just cast these on last time, and I was super excited about them, and I was like, oh, they're going so quickly, and I'm practicing my color work. They're the Iskrystall Mitts from Skein Deer Knits. I'm just so torn on this. I don't know. There's just too many things that are like kind of messed up about it that I got to the point where I was supposed to do the thumb, and I just lost all motivation. And I looked at it and realized that my ferrule tension is really off. I talked about this last time. My rows get really, really elongated. So this pattern is supposed to have 4 of these diamonds to fit on the hand. Yeah. Yeah. So my rows are messed up, people. Oh my gosh. I really need to work on my ferrule tension. I can usually get away with it, you know, on stuff like this, whenever it's tinier stitches, because it's just not as noticeable. But at this large gauge, it's just like, I was not happy. And I'm not super stoked on the colors. I was just trying to use stash yarn and, you know, make something quick and just like grab yarn I had in the house. And I don't have a huge stash, so I had a pretty limited selection. And this is what I came up with. Which, like, it's not terrible, but I'm just like not super excited about it. And even just my hand being in it, it feels really warm. It does feel really warm. But yeah, since my rows are super messed up, so the thumb opening is like really, really high up. It's like almost at the top of my thumb. Hi. So yeah, I need to work on that. And I just decided there's so much wrong with this. I don't really like the color. The tension is all messed up. It doesn't fit right. I had some real issues because I was using magic loop of like the stitches getting super stretched there. I mean, you can even see there's my finger. Like it's just way stretched out there on the side. And I messed up the pattern. This is supposed to go all the way down. And I was doing the checkerboard all the way across at the bottom until I figured it out. That's so bad. Yeah, so should have been super speedy. They are called, from her collection, Speedy Snow Mittens, I believe. Yeah, not speedy for me. So I've decided to frog these, and the yarn will go back in my stash. And one of my goals in 2020 is to work on color work and try to improve my tension and my technique, and then come back and knit a bunch of mittens next winter. That's the goal. So these are off of my whip list because they're getting frogged. The other one did not show you last time because I had already decided to frog it. I haven't actually done it yet, clearly. But I do already have a project picked out for this yarn, so that'll be a quick change. This is all about that Brioche Shawl by somebody, I don't remember. I'll put it right here. So I'm not a huge fan of garter stitch. I find it annoying and tiresome, and boring. So I have a real hard time doing garter stitch shawls. I don't have the motivation. I love them. I love the swish. I love wearing them. I don't like knitting them. So it took me 1.5 years to get this far. And so it's big garter stitch in the turquoise, and then you do this brioche section, which is the first time I've ever done 2-color brioche. I've done a brioche hat in 1 color before, but this, yeah, I'm don't have much brioche experience, but this was super fun. I really enjoyed knitting that and seeing the pattern appear. And I really like the way these two yarns work together. But then, so the way it goes is you switch your colors. You do another section of brioche. So this is the full first section of brioche. And then you swap the colors. So then it would be on this side, the turquoise as the dominant and the speckle yarn as the background color. And then on the other side, it would be the speckle yarn as the dominant color and the turquoise as the background color. And you do the same width. So then you have a big brioche band in the middle. And then you do another big garter stitch section in the contrasting color. So I still had quite a bit to go on this. And I had set it down for a while and I picked it back up because of the Crimson Whip-Along. And I was like, I'm finally going to finish this thing. And I started the second section of brioche and I went across and then I started going back the other way. And I realized I did not do it right. I did not do it right. It was messed up. I didn't know how to fix it. I was like, I am in the middle of brioche and I did not put in a lifeline. That was dumb. Especially since I hadn't been working on this for such a long time. Like, I didn't remember what I was doing. I have no idea what I'm doing. So yeah, totally messed it up. And I looked at the shawl and I looked at myself and I said, you're not going to finish this. You're never going to finish it. You don't want to. You're sick of this. You're sick of the project. You're not even that excited about wearing it. This is one of those things. I bought yarn. I impulse bought yarn that I didn't know what I was going to do with years ago. I went to a Stephen West class and I picked up this yarn whenever I was there, which is Uncommon Thread. And it was a custom color for his like class tour or whatever. And oh God, it's covered in cat hair. Just look at this side. Yeah, so mostly I bought it because of the colorway name. Like, because I'm not that big on speckles. I just don't really know what to do with them. Hence this ridiculousness. Anyway, the colorway name is Purl Scylla, Queen of the Desert. So I had to buy it. I mean, come on. Yeah, so I bought this like years ago. I didn't know what to do with it. Finally, I was on vacation down in Austin and went to Hill Country Weavers and found Madeline Tosh Light in Button Jar Blue. And I was like, oh, that would match this because this has little turquoise flecks in it. So I got this to go with it. And I was like, I'm going to make something. Like, I'll make a shawl or something. I just don't know what. And then it took a couple more years before I finally found out all about that brioche pattern. And I was like, oh my gosh, that'd be perfect. And like, it's fun and like graphic and geometric and these bright colors. And I still think it's a good concept. I just don't want to knit it. So I'm going to frog it. And then I have a plan for the yarn, which is fantastic. And I'm going to cast it on soon because I'm going to Vogue Knitting Live in New York in about 3 weeks. I'm really excited. I have been to like local stuff, like local fairs and wool fests and things like that. But I've never been to like one of the big ones. So I'm really excited about that. And I get to go and play in New York for a few days. So I'm excited about that. I live a very rural life these days. So it's fun to go and visit the city sometimes. And New York is definitely a city. Anyway, point being, Vogue Knitting Live has put out a pattern that is called, hang on, let me go grab it. Okay, that is called Our Common Threads. Vogue Knitting Live. Woo. Designed by Vogue Knitting Diversity Advisory Council members. Yeah, so everybody on the Knitting Diversity Advisory Council, that's many words, has designed a section of the shawl. And I think all of these words are going to be like backwards for you guys. Sorry. So I'm covering up the charts right now, but they have released 2 sections so far from these 2 designers who are on their council. And it's for a tubular cowl. So it's set up very much the same way as the Litmus Cowl is. It's a tube that's going to be long and then grafted together at the end, and you'll be able to wrap it around your neck a couple of times. It's all Fair Isle. So I want to practice my Fair Isle, and I feel like that's going to be a really good way to do it, because I'm fine with Fair Isle on like sweaters and stuff, like large canvases. But whenever I try and do these smaller projects with a small circumference, I have a lot more trouble. It's a lot more fiddly. I end up scrunching things up more. So I think this will be a really good project to practice my Fair Isle tension on. Yeah, it's supposed to be for DK or worsted weight, but I have fingering, and I thought about holding it double, but I'm not going to have enough if I hold it double. And sorry, the sun is coming out now, and I'm starting to get warm. My apologies for my redness. Yeah, so I'm going to go down a couple needle sizes and just like do an extra repeat of the pattern to get the width similar. And if I run out of yarn, I run out of yarn, and I'll get as far as I can get. And I'm not intending to actually finish this before Vogue Knitting Live and be able to wear it there. I think that is folly on my part. I know I won't be able to do it. I have so many other projects going, and yeah, I'm just not going to give myself a deadline, but I think it's going to be a really fun project. And I can at least take it with me and be knitting on it while I'm there if I don't finish it. So that's my plan for that frogged yarn. Yeah, so that's everything that was involved in the Crimson Whip Along. All of my whips, all of my FOs, and my frogs. Okay, there we go. I closed the curtain so I'm not like right in the sun. Hopefully the lights. Okay. All right, so where was I? I finished with all my Crimson Whip Along stuff. That's all of my current finished objects, current whips, recent frogs. So everything else that I did in 2019. It's nice to look back and kind of take stock on what you've done over the year and see progress. Yeah. So let's take a look at what I've done over the rest of 2019. So I showed this one to you guys last week as well, because I was talking about onion skin dyes. And this is my Ciao cowl, which I dyed with onion skins, and it is oh so cozy. I'm not sure what the base is. It is a superwash. I think it's a DK. It might be worsted. I'm not sure. I had this yarn a long time ago. I dyed it a long time ago. It'd just been sitting in my stash, and finally found a reason to use it whenever Dundernit did her glorious gold along, which onion skin, that's gloriously gold. I mean, come on. Yeah. So I really, really like this. It's so cozy and so squishy. I've been wearing it a lot going out to festive holiday events the last month. And it's a really fun cable pattern that really went quickly. I really liked these little guys. And they are not actually cables. They're just like you do... God, I can't even remember now. But it's just like you pass a stitch over and do a yarn over. And it does these cool little mock cables with a little eyelet in the middle. And I really, really liked that. That was fun. That was super fun to knit. And then, you know, these little tiny little 2-stitch cable rows. And then you have these nice bigger cable panels where it's all offset, which I think is just super pretty. Yeah. So I'm really happy with this knit, and it's a nice addition to my winter wardrobe. And it's definitely like a deep cold accessory. Next up is another cowl. What do you know? Another cowl. And it's also gold. What do you know? I did also enter this into the Glorious Gold Along, although I did not cast it on for that purpose. I just happened to be knitting it at the same time and realized it's this amazing bronze golden color. The colorway is actually called Mocha, and it is out of Vortex Yarn Whirl, which I have mentioned. Vortex is the, excuse me, oh my goodness. Vortex is the local yarn shop here. One of the local yarn shops here that I work at occasionally. And this is the owner's yarn. She dyes. And she does these amazing, like, tonal variations in her yarn. It's so pretty. Just, like, super, super saturated tonality. It's, like, gorgeous. So she was testing this yarn out as a base and gave me a skein of it. And she thought I would like this color, and she was right. She was definitely right. So it's nice and squishy, and it can wrap around twice around my neck. It's nice and cozy, and I can wear it long too, and I think it looks really cute. Yeah, like that. So it's super simple, sort of eyelet lace pattern. The pattern is Creagen by somebody. I'll put the name down here. Sorry. I'll take better notes next time, I swear. Yeah. What else can I say about this? It's a really straightforward, simple knit. It was nice to do when I wanted some mindless knitting, because it's just the same simple lace offset from each other, going round and round. I can't remember. It's a 2 or a 4 stitch repeat, or row repeat. I can't remember. And then just a little bit of ribbing on the top and the bottom. And I loved working with this yarn. It reminds me a lot of Madeline Tosh Light. And her colors are just gorgeous. I have another project that I also knit in Whirl that I will show you in a minute, which is partially a finished object and partially a work in progress. It has a very sad story, so I'm going to save that one maybe for last. So this is the Creagen cowl, which I wore a lot in the fall because it's nice and lightweight. And whenever you wrap it twice, it's pretty warm. Not super warm, but pretty warm. And, you know, you can wear it long and it still kind of gives your front region a little extra layer and a little extra layer on the back of your neck, you know. Which in the fall, whenever it's just a little bit crisp, is just perfect. Okay, so next on my list is the thing that I'm wearing. This is in Stillness sweater by Alicia Plumer. And I knit it out of Juniper Moon Farms Moonshine, which is a wool silk alpaca blend. It's a single ply worsted weight. And you can kind of tell it's getting a little fuzzy down here. And I was worried about knitting a sweater out of single ply worsted. That didn't sound like the brightest idea. But I really wanted to knit a sweater out of that yarn because it just looked so luscious. And whenever I looked up this pattern, I saw some other people had knit this sweater out of that specific yarn, and it looked really nice. So I just went ahead and did it. So yeah, let me push you back a little bit. And I'll stand up. You can take a look at the whole thing. And yeah, you can see it's getting a little bit pilly there on the side. And ooh, yeah, under the arms. It's a single ply. What are you going to do? So yeah, in Stillness boobs. Nice little texture pattern up here on the top of the yoke. Really nice shoulder shaping. I really like the shape and the size of the neckline. Tubular, cast off on the neck, and yeah, arms and the bottom hem are just cast off in pattern. This is the only one that has the nice tubular. But I'm super happy with the sweater. It's kind of the simplest sweater I've ever knit. That's not entirely true. I have knit another simple sweater. But a lot of times, whenever you're knitting, you want something that's interesting, that's going to keep your attention while you're knitting, which is the difference between a process and a product knit, I suppose. Whether you want to enjoy the act of knitting and the experience of the actual pattern, or if you want the clothes to wear at the end. And this was both, I suppose. I mean, it's top down, so you get to do this texture up here at the start, which is nice. And then it's just stockinette. Like, you just fly through it. And it's worsted weight, so it goes pretty quickly. This sweater did not take me that long to knit. I don't recall exactly how long it took, but it seemed like it went pretty quickly. And yeah, what else can I say about it? Yeah, I want more wardrobe staples like this. There we go, that's a little better. So that's one of my goals for 2020 as well, is to knit more like staple pullovers that I can just throw on with whatever. I can wear every day. It works casually. I can dress it up a little bit if I want to. I mean, they're nice sweaters, right? but I could just throw it on with a pair of jeans and I don't feel like I'm standing out. I don't feel like I'm like showing off my hand knits. Like, oh, I knitted this, you know, it's like, it's just a sweater and I made it. I know I made it. I know it's out of really great materials. I know it's keeping me warm, but it's not one of those like flashing signs like I'm a knitter and this is the sweater that I made. It's just like, no, this is my wardrobe and I made it. And it's simple and classic, and that's my style, is simple and classic. So I need more simple, classic knitted items in my wardrobe next year. So yeah, that's another sweater I knit this year. I knit quite a few sweaters. I'm doing good. Next one, also a sweater. This one was for a child, however. I knit this for my cousin's daughter, and I don't have the physical item with me anymore, but I will put in some pictures over here. This is the Wee Wildflower cardigan by Alana Dakos. There's also an adult version of this sweater in the Coastal Knits book, which was a collaboration between Alana Dakos and Hannah Fedig. Anyhow, this is the child's version. And I knit this for my cousin's daughter, like I said, and she has 2 daughters now. So I knit this for her oldest when her youngest was born. So I knit something for her first daughter, and then when she found out she was pregnant again, I kind of waited to see if it was going to be a boy or a girl, and found out she was having another girl. So I said, okay, so I'm not going to knit another baby thing. If it had been a boy, I would have knit like a little baby boy thing, because I knit her a dress, a baby dress, last time. So I figured I would knit something toddler sized, and then, you know, the second kid is just going to have to get used to having hand-me-downs, right? That's what the second kid does. So I knit this Wee Wildflower, and it is out of, what is it out of? Queensland something? Queensland Sport? United? Queensland United. There we go. Queensland United. It's a sport weight. I don't recall the colorway name off the top of my head. I will put it down here. It is a wool cotton blend. It's just about 50-50. And that makes it machine washable, which is excellent for a baby or child item. And my cousin also lives in Houston, Texas, where it is very, very hot and very, very humid. So they don't have much use for wool down there. So this was a nice kind of in between. I have to say I was not really a fan of this yarn. I did not enjoy knitting with it. It felt quite stiff, despite the fact that it's 55% wool. It felt a lot more like a cotton yarn. I felt like it didn't bloom very much. It acted much more like cotton than like wool. So it wasn't that much fun to work with. But what are you going to do? I also have like a skein and a half left over of it. I got way too much yarn. I don't know why my calculations were so off. So I've got like a whole bunch extra of this light purple cotton wool yarn that I don't like to work with, and I don't really like the color. So I don't know, that's going to be sitting in my stash for a long time until I find a use for it, or somebody who might find a use for it. Anyhow, my cousin sent me this adorable picture of her daughter just the other day, saying that she's super into purple right now, so it's great, and it's just right for Texas winter. So I'm very happy. So that's another garment in the books for 2019. And I will say next one is not a garment. Should I go through all the rest of my garments first? Let's just go through the garments right now, and then I'll come back. There's one more shawl, and then there's a bunch of garments. Oh, and there's other things. Okay, let's go with the garments right now. Okay, so then another garment I completed in 2019. I started it in 2018. Very well, I started it in 2018. But I finished it in 2019. This is the Cruden vest. Cruden by Isolde Teague. It's a nice traditional sort of Scottish Fair Isle vest. There we go, there's the whole thing. Yay. I love it so much. Oh my god, I'm so proud of this. So this yarn is all my own naturally dyed yarn. This was kind of like my pinnacle project. I had been studying with a master natural dyer near here for the first year that I lived out here. And this was kind of like my pinnacle project. I picked a pre-existing color palette, color swatch for this pattern, and recreated the colors using natural dyes. So I'll just kind of try and go through them quickly here. So this main color is dyed with tea. This next one up here, this dark brown, is walnut and indigo. This olive green is Kota flower, which is a wildflower that grows here, and indigo. There's a lighter shade of brown, which is just walnut. This darker blue is Saxon blue. The lighter blue was dyed with indigo. And this center row with the accent color, that is just Kota flower. Yeah. So there you go. This project required a lot of preparation, a lot of calculation, a lot of planning. And it is worth it. It's so good. I do wish that I had done like one more repeat down here. It's a little bit short, which, I mean, I'm always wearing it over something underneath it. You know, I'm wearing like a collared shirt or something underneath it. So there's shirt coming out underneath. So like whatever. But I do always kind of feel like it's a little bit short, and I feel like I'm tugging it down all the time. So I do wish I had done an extra repeat, but it's still great. And I have one more garment that I made in 2019. Last one. I also don't have in person because it was a gift. I will insert a photo here. Last Christmas, which turned into last January or February, I gave my dad a hand-knitted sweater. The pattern is Jaiden by Isabel Kramer, and I picked that pattern for him not only because it is very classic and masculine, and I like textured patterns, but because my dad has a dog named Jaiden, and the pattern's name was Jaiden, so I had to. too. Yeah, so he loves it. He loves the sweater. He says it fits great. It's the best fitting sweater he's ever had, which is fantastic. And that's a testament to Isabel Kramer's designs, because I did not measure him. I didn't do anything. It was a total surprise. I just cast on an extra large size and went with it. And he says it's perfect. So thank you, Isabel, for making such a nice pattern. The only modification I did, the pattern itself has you do these little textured elbow patches, and I just skipped that part, just did stockinette all the way down. I just didn't really like the look of them, and I didn't want to bother with it, so I just skipped it. The yarn I used was Knit Picks Wool of the Andes Worsted Superwash in the colorway Garnet Heather. It's a great yarn, super affordable, superwash, great gift yarn. And moving on to my next work in progress, I had some of that yarn left over after I knitted that sweater, so I knit myself a hat. There we go. I love this hat. I wear it all the time. This is my go-to winter hat. I need more hats, honestly. I have this one, and then I have like a lightweight sock head, and those are the only hats I have. Can you believe that? Yeah, so I need to knit myself some more hats. But I really love this. It's wardrobe staple. I wear it all the time. My pom-pom is starting to fall off. It's just connected by a little thread at this point. Yeah, so I need to secure that before it just falls off of my head when I'm out walking around one day. And I do have it attached on the inside. I put a button on the inside so I could just tie the pom-pom on there. And then if I ever wanted to wash the hat, I could just take it off. Take the pom-pom off and just wash the hat. Yeah, so this is the Wool of the Andes Worsted Superwash in Garnet Heather. It's super, super pretty. I love the heather colors that Knit Picks does. They do a really good job. So this is super cozy and squishy. There's these garter stitch panels in between the cable panels, which makes this hat extra warm. It's got the nice folded brim. I do have to say, despite the fact that this is a superwash wool, it feels like real wool. Like, it really feels like real wool. I mean, it is real wool, but like, it feels like a non-superwash wool. And it's itchy like a non-superwash wool. So that is a consideration. If you're thinking about using this yarn for, you know, whatever, it is quite itchy. I often find that my forehead starts to get itchy if I'm wearing this, if I go like inside a store or something, and I start to get warm, I have to kind of pull the hat back a little bit so it's not scratching my forehead. But then once I'm back out in the cold, I can just pull it back down. But yeah, for being a superwash wool, it is quite scratchy, I find. But it's wearing great. I wear this hat all the time. And, you know, the stitch definition is holding up. There's a snag there. That's from my cat, though. That doesn't have anything to do with anything. Yeah. So that's my Oban hat. The pattern's by Thea Coleman. I don't know if I mentioned that. I really, really like her. Pretty much every pattern she puts out goes directly into my favorites. Just one of those designers where like everything she puts out is like just my style. You know, classic. What can I say? Yeah, so hat, and then talked about Jaiden, and talked about Cruden. Okay, so I have socks and a shawl, and then that's everything that I made in 2019, which is going to put me at 14 finished objects for 2019. Unless I finish some more in the next 2 days, which I will. Okay, look at these, people. Those are some socks. Those are socks. That's a lot of sock. That's a lot of stockinette. That's what that is. It's a lot of stockinette. So these are knit out of a yarn that I don't remember the name of, but I will insert right there. Yeah, so we carry this yarn in the shop in Vortex, and I could not resist this color. Like, I love yellows and golds and oranges, so I just like, I could not pass this up. It was too much fun. I just made up the pattern. Again, I did my standard toe up, size US 1 needles, short row heel, and then I was just planning to do regular old socks with these, but I was doing another sample knit for the shop, which is my last finished object of 2019, which is the Magic Spring Shawl, which I also don't have because it's in the shop, but I'll put a picture of it here. But as you can see, it uses the same yarn, and I had a bunch left over after I did this yellow section in the shawl, and I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna claim the leftover bits of that of that skein and just make really tall socks. Like, that sounds like fun. So yeah, I managed to snag almost a second full skein, so I just made knee-high socks. Yeah, and I did do proper math, and I like measured my calf and figured out how many increases I needed to do. And then once I got to my full width, then I did a few quick decreases before I started the ribbing just to help pull it in a little bit more. And then I did this big 1x1 ribbing section at the top. And then I did a tubular bind off. Yeah, and these go right up to right below my knee. I have noticed if I just wear them on my skin, like under pants or something, they do tend to kind of slip down a bit. So I might want to think about putting in some elastic up here in the ribbing. But I also wear leggings quite a bit in the wintertime. And whenever I wear them over leggings, that is not an issue at all. So I probably won't bother. Yeah, so then that's it. That's everything I made in 2019. So that's 14 finished objects. 6 of them are garments, right? Let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Uh-oh. There's one more I have to show you. 6, 7. 7 garments. One of them's child size, but still 7 garments. So the one that I've forgotten. Oh dear. This is so sad. This is so sad, you guys. I knit the Tegna sweater by Caitlin Hunter over the summer. And I loved it. It was beautiful. I knit it out of this whirl yarn, but in a green, which I believe her colorway, she calls it herb. Here it is. Isn't it so pretty? It's such a pretty color. So I knit this. I finished it. I wore it once. I went to a concert in the park. Beer definitely probably spilled on it a couple of times that night. Yeah, definitely probably did. And then it ended up on the top of the shelf by my bed for a couple of days because I needed to wash it because I spilled beer on it. And in that time, my dog found it sitting there next to my bed, and he ate a hole in it. He ate a big hole in it. Oh, I was so mad at that dog, and he knew it. Oh my goodness. He hid from me for like 24 hours after that. He was like, oh, Mama is angry. Like, yes, I'm angry. You ate a hole in my sweater. So I thought about my options, and I haven't pulled this out of the bag in like a while, so it's like kind of a total disaster right now, and it's attached to so many needles because I'm trying to fix it. I'm trying to fix what my dog did. He ate a giant hole in the stockinette, so I went through and cut the sweater in half, and I reknit up from the point. Oh god. I reknit up. Okay, you can kind of see the line here. Okay. I think this is... No, oh, here it is, here it is. I can see it now. I can see it now because part of it's blocked and part of it's not. So the part I've reknit is not blocked yet. So it's from right here. Here we go. Right here is where I cut out, cut here. I unraveled the part with the hole in it and then started knitting back up. So I reknit this whole section up to here. And now I'm Kitchener stitching the top back onto the bottom of the sweater. And if you have ever knit a Tegna, you know it has like 15 inches of positive ease or something ridiculous. It's like 400 stitches around or something in single ply fingering. So I've made it this far across that it's reattached, and you can see it. I cannot get the stitches to sit correctly after I Kitchener them. The one side is just being more dominant. You can see that line. I want to point it out, but I don't have enough hands. Here we go. Yeah, you can see that line going across there. That's my Kitchener stitch line. I'm really hoping, I keep going back like every 10 stitches or so and trying to manually adjust the tension and get the stitches nice and even. But as you can imagine, this is not a fun project. I don't like to sit down and do it. So I haven't worked on it in a while. But yeah, which is such a shame because I loved this. It fits so well. Oh. So I have to finish Kitchenering all the way around and get all of this reattached to itself and then reblock it. So yeah, that's a project. I need to get back to working on this. I was doing good there for a while. I would pull it out and work on it for like 20 minutes a day or something. But even 20 minutes doing Kitchener stitch, especially whenever it's this far around, I'm pulling so much yarn through each time. I'm realizing I'm just going to have to do a few different sections with a different yarn end and just weave some of my ends because I can't do the entire length at the same time. It's just not working. Oh, excuse me. So yeah, once I'm done with that, I'm going to block it and hope that this line evens out and you can't really see it. And if it does enough, I'm not going to worry about it because I know that over time and a few more wears and another wash, like it'll even out. It'll be fine. But it needs to get better than it is right now. And then I never did knit the sleeves on. It does have actual sleeves, but it looks great without the sleeves too. Like I think it looks super cute with just the little drop shoulder, and you know, it's the raw edge, so it just curls in on itself a little bit anyway. Like it looks nice, I think. And then you have the curled around the neckline too, the stockinette curl around the neckline. So I think it looks fine without the sleeves. So I'm gonna kind of assess after I finish reattaching everything and after I block it, if I think this fix is going to be good enough. And then decide if I want to knit the sleeves. Because if this fix is not good enough, my other option, I've realized, is to rip all of the top of the body out. Yeah, which means I'm going to lose some yarn because I'm going to have to undo my seams. But I might not be able to do the sleeves at all, which is fine. I like it without the sleeves too. But that would mean I would have to take out the whole top of the sweater and then just reknit the whole thing back up. But in the meantime, I am going to try and finish Kitchener stitching this all back together and see if this major sweater surgery will save this patient. Yeah. So that's that's everything. I've been talking for a long, long time. Yeah. So next time I come to you guys, hopefully I'll have some new stuff on the needles. I'll have some more stuff off of the needles. I'm not going to go through like everything in my wardrobe, so it won't be quite so long-winded as today. But happy knitting. I hope you guys have been working on a project and made some good progress while you've been following along here. And I hope you're having a lovely Twixtmas week between Christmas and New Year's. I know it gets very muddy this week. I've definitely not accomplished as much as I had intended this week. I've definitely pushed a lot of work things out and said, oh, I don't actually have to do that until the new year, right? Like I can relax and knit for a few days, right? Like please just let me relax and knit for a few days. Yeah. So going back into it tomorrow, Monday, but then I'm going to have New Year's Day off, so I'm hoping I can just knit all day that day. And I hope that you can too. Thanks for joining me again. Happy winter, happy knitting, and I'll see you next time. Bye.